Man, that is one good looking aeronautique. I have no idea how I'm gonna convince my wife it's a good idea to pay for it. I know, I can turn it into a tax deduction, take clients out on it, teach them how to wake surf. I'm Adam Boatsman, CPA. I'm the managing partner of one of Charlotte, North Carolina's largest public accounting firms. Over the years, I've helped tens of thousands of business owners just like you save money, make money, and stay out of trouble, and most importantly, have fun while they're doing it. The purpose of this video series is to give you proven techniques to take business deductions and get tax deductions for things that you might have not otherwise thought about. So we're going to answer all your questions and most importantly, show you how to do this stuff without having to worry about the IRS showing up at your doorstep. So if you're tired of taking tax advice from some guy sitting in his mommy's basement, you came to the right location. Even more importantly, I'm also a business owner. So every one of the techniques that I'm going to give to you is something that I've done for myself personally. So with that in mind, let's get started. So one of my favorite questions that I get asked by a client, and it usually starts something like this. I'm embarrassed to ask this, because I don't want to, push the envelope too much, but is there any way that I can deduct my boat? I have great news. The answer to that is yes, but with a but. I love this question because if you guys have ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's a great book regardless of whether or not you believe the story behind it or whether or not the story behind it's true, because what it does is it advocates, how do I start paying stuff pre-tax that I used to pay for post-tax? So in other words, get a tax deduction for something instead of having to pay taxes on the money, then go buy it with post-tax money, which is really the kind of the fundamental premise of Rich Dad, Poor Dad in terms of becoming a business owner. I mean, that's what we did this for, right? Among other things, is to get stuff tax deductible. So a boat is one of those things. However, if you were to simply Google, can I deduct a boat? I didn't do this, but I'm sure that at some point some big red flags are gonna jump up saying, oh, that's a big IRS red flag. And I would typically agree with that comment. So what we're gonna teach you today is how to actually deduct a boat without creating a red flag. So with all things, the first thing you have to ask yourself is a boat a legitimate business expense? So I'm sitting with you here in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's two Great Lakes in the greater Charlotte area, Lake Norman and Lake Wylie. I live in the town of Davidson, which is up by Lake Norman. Great lake to go boating on, up to about 32 feet. There are some jabronis that have 45 footers out there, but up to 32 feet, pretty good size. Below that, 24 feet, good boat, great pontoon in the lake. That's the kind of boat that I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about big, 51-foot, sailing catamaran that's in a charter fleet. That's a whole different story. Of course, that's tax deductible if it's in a charter fleet. I'm talking about your boat that you want to get a tax deduction for, that you're trolling around the lake on, and you're just like, it'd be great if I could get a deduction for this thing. The first thing you got to do is you got to create a business purpose for it. So I'm going to share a story of how I created a purpose for deducting my boat. In the beginning of the pandemic, we were thinking as a company about what we wanted to do differently. And one of the ideas that we came up with was educational videos, very similar to this. Well, where did we come up with that idea? Where we came up with that idea is that myself and our sales and marketing guy, Gary, were sick of being cooped up. We're like, we got to get outdoors. I happened to be a member of a boat membership at the time. Like, well, why don't we go out on the lake, do some brainstorming? So we rented a pontoon boat, which I already was paying for the boat membership. So pontoon boat, just reserved it, right? So we went out on the lake. Gary brought his flip chart. We had an agenda, brainstorming here, doing this, and out of this came these ideas for these educational videos. How is that any different from doing a strategic planning retreat anywhere else? It was one of the best ideas that we had as a company, complete game changer for us. And the way that we got the creative juices flowing was being out on the lake. Nobody can tell me that that is not a tax deduction. So what's the actual deduction? Well, what's the cost of renting a boat? On Lake Norman, it's about $1,000 a day. We were out there for the full day. So what I'm gonna do is, as with all things, what's my purpose? My purpose was, brainstorming session with Gary. The second thing I gotta do is I gotta figure out the rate. That's pretty simple. I just look at what are comparable boat rental rates for the day. It was $1,000 bucks. So how do I create a tax deduction for that? I create an expense reimbursement, $1,000, no different than if I turned in mileage for the use of this boat. Company pays me, deduction for the company, I get it back, it's not income because it was simply an expense reimbursement. Okay, Adam, that makes sense, but you were a member of the boat club, I got it, what if I own my own boat? It's the same concept. Think auto reimbursement for mileage, it's the same concept. I'm just using the boat for the day at a fair market value. Now, if you're just tooling around with the family all day and you're like, well, my wife's also an employee of the company, we're talking business, that's probably pushing the envelope a little bit, but sessions like I had with Gary, you want to take your CPA out on the boat with you to talk about tax strategy, all legitimate stuff. And if you think about it, at that rate, $1,000 a day, you don't need very many days to offset the cost of the boat ownership between a payment, a slip if you have a slip, the insurance, the gas, and all that kind of stuff. So as we say in the tax planning, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. It's pretty easy to be a little pig here without being a hog and not getting into too much trouble. Hope this helps. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and that you hit subscribe. If you've got further questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below and we'll do our best to get back to them. If you're looking for more information, make sure you check out our website, subscribe to our blog, subscribe to our newsletter, which are also included in the links below. We hope this was really helpful to you and have a good time.